vote Māori development, vote Pacific peoples, vote sport and recreation, vote statistics, vote treaty negotiations, and vote women stand part of the schedules. No, Korako.
Huri noa te whare nei e mihi atu ki a koutou katoa. Sir, it is a pleasure for me to take this call in this appropriations debate for Māori, other populations and also the cultural sector. Sir, it is a privilege indeed to be a Māori MP within the National Party caucus and also to be the chair of the Māori Affairs Select Committee. Sir, this government indeed is delivering for Māori, and particularly, sir, when we look at the measures that have reached...
I'm going to interrupt the member early, as I did with other chairs, and to remind him that his role is to report in as neutral a manner as he can as the chair of the committee, rather than give a partisan speech. That's why the member has an extra speech. The member's team has an extra speech, so he can do that. It is a warning I've given to previous chairs. He can take another call if he wants to be partisan and talk about a particular party's program. No, Korako.
So, thank you for the guidance. So the Māori Affairs Select Committee heard evidence from the Minister for Māori Development, the Honourable Te Uruo Flavel, Te Puni Kōkiri, sir, and also the Office of the Auditor General. So when we look at the total appropriations for Vote Māori, they are, for 2017-18, $312.9 million. So within that there, the Minister actually conveyed to the Māori Affairs Select Committee, sir, that within that there were 15 new policies, including additional and actual new funding. And that new funding, sir, actually covered particularly, first of all, additional funding, which was $2.5 million for whānau ora, and then also, sir, for the Māori housing initiatives, which was another $5 million. And then new funding, sir, under that was for Te Reo Māori of $6.5 million. Sir, one of the things that the Minister highlighted, along with Te Puni Kōkiri, was that in the 2017-18 appropriations, there was actually funding of $71 million, sir, to achieve the whānau ora outcomes. And when we look at that, sir, the funding itself, well, a lot of it was concentrated around the whānau ora outcomes framework, sir, which was a principal measurement. And we found, sir, that in the presentation, there was actually a lot of commitment, more so to the way that the whānau ora initiatives are actually measured and monitored. And so one of the things, sir, was that they very much highlighted the 7 outcomes that whānau ora was going to deliver on, or that is delivering on. One is, sir, one was self-management, the other one was live healthy lifestyles, participate in full society, confidently participate, that was the big one, in Te Ao Māori, in the world of the Māori. And confidently, sir, economically secure and successfully involved in the wealth of creation. And that particularly, sir, came around within that whānau ora piece around Māori entrepreneurship and the development of that, sir, particularly in Māori actually being in charge of their own destinies, and particularly in businesses and employing Māori within those businesses as well. So there was another part of it which actually talked about being cohesive, nurturing, and also very, very resilient within the sort of the whānau space or the whānau area. So the responsibility also for stewardship to living, and particularly around the upkeep and the kaitiakitanga, sir, of Papatūānuku. So the environment was very, very important, sir, inside of that. So at the committee, sir, we were told that there was some real sort of tangible process that was achieving these outcomes, and that the Minister was satisfied particularly of that performance. And looking at it, a number of us on the committee, he was questioned, but there was a very, very clear way in which it was actually presented around that measurement. Sir, for example, we heard that out of 1,014, or out of 1,591, just over 1,014 whānau were prioritised in in a housing report, sir, and particularly with insulated houses. And so that was under that Te Pou Matakana. Mr. Chair.
A point of order, Jami-Lee.
Interrupt Mr. Korako's speech, but I raise a point of order to express this side of the House's concern at your use of the word neutral when it comes to speeches from chairs of committees. Whilst, and I've read the Business Committee's determination, whilst chairs are expected to set out the major findings of the committee, the Business Committee determination didn't say chairs must be neutral. And I do note you've pulled up a number of our chairs around that and suggested they must be neutral. So I wanted to outline that concern, that I don't believe that is quite the determination of the Business Committee, and any member of the Parliament, unless they are a presiding officer, are likely to have some partisan aspects to their speeches. I wonder if, sir, you could reconsider the way you've been ruling.
I will reflect on what the member said. I have been involved in discussions around the difference in the role of that speech and the reasons for giving an extra speech to the chairs of committee, and actually they are speeches for presiding officers from the committees, and I think they are, in fact, and my understanding, and I'm happy to reflect on it and happy to discuss it with colleagues, my understanding is that they are effectively extra speeches in order to set out what happened at the committee in sort of the tone of the reports rather than the tone of a partisan member. Catherine Delahunty.
Very much. I take a call on two aspects of this appropriation or these estimates, and there's so much in this.